This week on Rockstar Superhero. I love Immerse a lot. I get it. I'm prone to hyperbole, but the music hits me at just the right place, and the band is so extremely talented. To these ears, Immerse is all the things, and somehow yet just melodically sublime. I spoke to Josh Armitage a few weeks back, and our chat was what you would expect. We had a great time and connected over everything from traditional songwriting to the technical aspects of being the timekeeper in a modern rock band. There is so much to love here, and Immerse is poised to turn it on, and in turn welcome you into the fold as a fan for life. Their new single, Destruct, is a perfect example of what this band does, and this band did it, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it. So without further ado, this is Josh Armitage of the UK Metalcore act Immerse, and this, my friends, is Rockstar Superhero.
You're right in the middle of it right now, right? You've got everything happening. The wheels are cranking. You're on maybe the second to biggest cog. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff is going on. And I imagine that can be overwhelming for anyone, let alone a young musician. So I'm curious how you're handling the chaos of marketing and branding and, and growing the Immerse name.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot. It's a huge task to, take on as you said, young musicians, and we're just trying to, be the best we can be in every sense. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of dedication. But it's all going towards that main goal of hopefully being able to do this, for as long as we can for the rest of our working lives, if possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's the whole branding that's been a whole thing. I don't know, we were a band previous to Immerse. I don't know whether you knew of us back before we did the rebrand. But obviously that's been a huge step for us to kind of be one thing and then completely change to another, new sound, new image, and just that was us thinking, right, we need to take this to the next level.
Yeah.
And with that comes exactly all the rebranding and just trying to be professional about it. This is what we want to do. This is we got to take this seriously now.
Yeah. Well, it is the music business, and people forget about the word business. It happens to be the in the 80-20 rule, business is the 80% of this. Yeah. It's interesting too, because you guys have made these big shifts. I don't know if you're open to sharing that. I'd actually love to hear the story. And the reason I ask is because one of my favorite up and coming bands is Caskets. And, they were captives. And then, through lawsuits and everything else, they're forced into a rebrand that they absolutely were not planning on, and no desire to go that direction. And to be frank, their music sounds like what I would call captives, right? It's music for people that feel like the world is against you, right? So for them to switch to a name so just honestly odd to me initially was a big shock, and yet somehow the name now seems to work as some sort of irony to their material. So I'm curious about the Immerse story. Can you tell a little bit about why the shift and what led to the change, because that's a significant move, man.
Sure. Well, it was basically we were going for a deal. And the guy we were talking with and signing on to, he was like, your music's, really dig the music, really dig the sound, but the name is just not great. You know, the name was it was a very kind of college, you know, high school band. It was so it was a band before I joined,
right?
And it was
like Josh and the Wet Boys.
I mean, it was it was they were called Everyday Sidekicks.
Okay.
So it was very obviously the guys before I joined, they started way back in school, and the name just kind of stuck, you know, for those years, and then I joined probably about four years ago now, and that's where it kind of got a bit more serious. That I put in some real time and effort into the music. And then that's where we got into talks with this deal, and he couldn't cope with the name, and which is fair enough. He said, in all honesty, you know, we've got to kind of start from scratch. The music is great, but we need to start again, really. So we did this whole rebrand, started fresh, new name. You know, nothing. It's got nothing to do with anything we were before. There's no kind of link. It's all just new band, new face.
Yeah.
And let's run with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I only know you as Immerse.
Sure.
So to me, this makes complete sense. It sounds like alternative rock, metalcore. It sounds like all these things that you ultimately are. So, I mean, I completely understand whether that's management or just an outside influence. They tend to know what they're doing, having been in the business, and leaving you to your art. You know what I mean? But you know, that's a tough nut, no matter how you cut it. And I appreciate you sharing it too, because that stuff can be embarrassing at times. But the name was fine. It was just a little too snarky, tongue-in-cheek college frat boy sort of, right?
Exactly that. It was young. It sounded young, and I don't know. I don't want to say inexperienced, because you know they've been doing it for a while before I joined, and I was doing my own thing, you know, kind of alongside it. But it just sounded consistently like this new band, and so it was just one of those things that we just had to bite the bullet and say, right, let's flip it up.
Yeah. Well, look, Josh, I'm so glad you're here, as I said before. And one of the features of my show, there's a couple of things that I always want to hit on. And it's certainly a very important aspect is the formation of the artist, who you are, outside of the brand, and really, in a sense, how you sing or the kind of material or genre you're within. But I'd really love to know about how your family culture, your neighborhood, all those little things, you know, they turn us into who we are. And I'm a former professional drummer. And so, I mean, I might as well have been born with drumsticks in my hand. So looking back, how did little Josh discover that, you know, you were programmed to be a musician?
I think for me personally, in terms of my memory, it probably wasn't until I was in probably the back end of primary school, where I kind of discovered this love for music and especially the drums. My dad was a big music fan. He listened to like rock and indie music, basically. So that's all that I was listening to as a kid. So that definitely influenced me, you know, to just be aware of what was popular at that time, and also what was so-called, you know, classics of that time as well. A lot of soundtrack music I listened to as a kid as well, like the Matrix soundtrack. That was huge. That was absolutely huge. Mission Impossible soundtrack, like the original Mission Impossible. It had some absolute rippers on there. And that was kind of like my introduction to almost kind of like the heavier side of music. You know, I had like Rob Zombie and Limp Bizkit. That was the first time, you know, I heard those kind of artists. Before, you know, that's kind of a few more years down the line. Kind of taking a step back. Yeah, it was a school doing just classic kind of music projects in school. You know, who wants to make a band? Put your hand up, kind of thing. And yeah, just went for the drums, and I figured it. I quite enjoyed it at the time. You know, didn't think much of it.
Yeah,
kind of like just a classic kind of growing up story. You know, with music.
Yeah.
Kind of throughout school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's not until secondary school that I actually started drum lessons. You know, I was really kind of active in pursuing, you know, to get started properly. So yeah, I got started with drum lessons. Nothing crazy. I mean, just doing gradings. You know, all the basic rudiments. You know, classic, you know, 2-minute pieces that you have to sit and, you know, nervously try and play to your teacher and you know, grading people. That was an awful. I hated that. I mean, I guess that was like my first dip into performing was doing those gradings. They were something else. They were tough.
Yeah,
like the pressure of being watched so intently to every little note you're playing.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I mean, I'm sure we have a lot in common just because we're both those players. But, you know, this might register with you, is why I want to share it. When I was little, you know, every time we would have family friends come over, or specifically my aunts and uncles, grandparents like that, my mother and father would always say, "Okay, Robbie, you need to go downstairs and play some drums for us, entertain us," you know, and it's so funny. I'm telling you, Josh, I could go in front of 10,000 people right now and not have a problem. But if you have two people come over and sit in front of a drum kit and ask me to play for them, I'm gonna, it's like I have no more chops. I'm just gonna, like, there's something about that pressure of being right under the gun with somebody that you care about and that you know that their opinion is gonna kind of cut like a knife. So was that your experiences as a child too? Because it sounds like it was with your teacher.
Yeah, that's it. It was. I had a little drum kit at home as well. The grandparents, you know, every Sunday come around and, you know, play us something you've been, you know, learning, or play a song, you know. So it was, that was quite nerve wracking. But you know, I just wanted to play. I think I didn't really care about the noise or, you know, the reactions too much. Kind of at the start, I was kind of numb to that because I just wanted to play. But then as I started getting more kind of like tied in with it, that's when opinions started to really sink in. And, you know, like you were saying, like you know, you're under the gun every time. So that was nuts. That was good.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, at least drummers, we have this beautiful thing. It's called the drum kit that sits in front of us and it protects us from the audience. And it's kind of it's our security blanket. It's our way of being in front of everyone without being easily approachable, right? The being a front man, being a guitar player, standing at the front of a stage sounds exciting, but to me, and I imagine to you, it's that there's an intimidation there that I don't need. I don't need that in my life. You know what I mean?
You'd feel naked, like pure naked, just with nothing around you.
Yeah,
something else.
Well, so as you were developing, and I'm sorry, I only because I'm a drummer, and it's just easy to ask questions that I relate to as well. But, you know, like for me, I was playing, and then all of a sudden when I was 15, maybe 16, a friend of mine in high school band said, "Hey, have you ever heard of King Crimson?" And I'm much older than you. So my answer was no. I had no idea who King Crimson was. I didn't know who UK was. I didn't know much about Frank Zappa. There was a lot of, 70s era progressive rock and really, really challenging music that I'd never heard. And so I went over to this guy's house and he's playing me all this stuff. And I heard all these intense drumming parts that I couldn't fathom. They were just overwhelming to me. They sounded difficult, and actually they sounded impossible, right? And yet when I found out that when I went home, I took those records, I borrowed them, I went home with an old record player and sat down and put my headphones on, and I learned a lot of those parts, and I actually learned I could play that stuff. And it completely altered my perspective as a musician. So I'm curious, not the influence question, but what was the musical moment that hit you just like, oh my God, there's a different way to approach this, and maybe I can apply that to my own growth?
Wow. I think definitely similar to your experiences, like hearing stuff that sounds, nigh on impossible. You couldn't even think of what what direction they're going in, and the parts they're playing. Yeah. But again, same situation. Like really listening, repetition is my go-to. Like before anything else is repeat. And that's before I even jump on the kit. Mm-hmm. That's kind of just mentally, imagining how it looks on the kit before I actually get on the kit.
Oh, wow. So you're doing the visual math ahead of time?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That I don't think like that at all. That's awesome. Tell me more.
So I mean, that's kind of it. I listen, and then when I feel like I can see myself playing it, that's where I make the transition of, I know, I've got a really pretty, rough 70% idea of like the sound of the kit and what drums are being played at certain times. In time with the song, I take a lot of cues from the song as well.
Yeah.
This is when back learning covers other people's songs. So I would learn by listening, imagining, seeing myself in that situation, and then take it over. And then I found that would just kind of, it was easier to play in essence. Yeah. It wasn't as hard as I imagined. So when you were listening to all your songs and thinking, not a chance, but then you actually worked out the parts and it was doable. Mm-hmm. For me, a band that sticks out doing this was right at the start, Bullet for My Valentine. That was my first double bass experience.
Nice.
And that's when it kind of got real in terms of, figuring out what it looks like, what it sounds like, and then putting that into practice. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge kind of step for me.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact, what I like about you from everything that I've watched and everything that I've heard is that you seem to be very singularly on a mission. And let me explain. I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I'm a lot older than you. And so the idea of me recording drum videos, for example, is just it's not on my radar. Right. It's like that little kid thing where the last thing I want is just two people sitting in front of my drum kit, even putting it out on the internet as though, hey, everybody, you know what I mean? The last thing I want is anybody's comments about because I've been playing so long. I don't want to hear how shitty I am now, but you have a lot of stuff out there. And I don't know if there's so much a question here as a comment about the bravery of doing that. Is that how you ended up getting the Immerse gig?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't for me being, not kind of social media, putting stuff out there. We actually knew of each other, me and the band. because we used to play together in different bands.
Yeah,
we used to be on like the same bills, you know, doing little hometown shows, and we'd like kind of support each other on those little lineups. So that's how they knew me.
Yeah.
But in terms of uploading material, kind of, I guess that helps with my growth as well as a player, like, because I get the chance to then critique myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not other people watching the video back. It's, you know, I'm going back, you know, every couple of days and thinking, did I play that bit all right? So I'd go back, watch it, think, you know, either I could have been a bit tighter, or actually no, that was okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of development for myself. I use it as you know, kind of like a pinpoint in my journey so far.
Yeah.
These types of videos, or music videos, or you know, little studio update type things.
Yeah.
You know, it helps me. I think it's good. I think it's healthy to get, you know, some stuff that's not purely 100% recorded.
Sure.
You know, all together. It's fine to be raw and you know, off the cuff.
I prefer it, actually. I mean, what I love about it too is that you're helping the band simply by putting these out, because again, you're offering up bite-sized pieces of marketing, right? You're just staying in front of your existing fan base, and obviously through organic growth and, you know, talking to guys like me, you're gonna get some momentum that fortunately will only work in your favor, because the material you guys are releasing is just so well written and so punchy and real and inviting. And I get it. There's, you know, in this day and age, it's almost like if you have a good performance and a decent song, stuff gets mixed so well and so loud, right, that it almost like kind of works by default. But you guys have a really a surprising I know this is probably going to sound strange, but just a surprising sort of hopeful, positive, beautiful undertone to the aggressive aspects of what you do. And I think that's what sets it apart. And so for me as a drummer, I can attribute a lot of that to your abilities, because I recognize what it takes to perform at that level. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a badass, man. I would love to hang with you. I would love to just sit in a room with you and play with you, and just trade ideas and solos, and, you know, cool. Well, look, let's talk about singles, because that's the nature of the business nowadays. I don't really know when it shifted. I don't know if I blame iTunes or if I blame mp3.com 25 years ago, but, you know, the music business is a wildly different beast nowadays. And it seems to be very much focused on, you know, release a few singles, build some momentum, you know, release a single every, you know, 4 to 6 weeks, you know, get a great manager, and then eventually maybe release a collection of those singles in an album. You know what I mean? And that's so new and so different to a guy like me. But as you know, and as I said a second ago, this allows you to double up your efforts on the overall campaign, and you're basically creating a musical drip campaign for the band and for your fans. So, you know, how easy is it for you to pick the right song for a single release? How does the band let the babies grow up?
That's a really good question. Well, the last album we did, we kind of that was actually kind of a lucky draw for us, because we recorded it all before lockdown hit. So, you know, we were expecting this kind of album campaign, you know, big push, multiple singles, bang, you know, and then see what happened from there. Right. But when the lockdown came,
maybe tour it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Tour it around and then see kind of what happened from there.
Right.
But then the lockdown hit, and we kind of had to take a step back and think whether that was the right thing to do. We didn't know how long we weren't going to be able to play or even record again. Mm-hmm. So we had to extend our campaign to, I think we did maybe 5 or 6 singles. So we turned the album into just a collection of singles and just released them every so often with videos. We made some kind of our bassist Ben, he made some visualizers at home just to use as extra content so that we could actually have more than we actually had beforehand. So now we're out of that. It's kind of like we said, singles are where it's at. Albums are they're great. I love recording albums. They're like concepts in their own right. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. People are just so thirsty. They're so thirsty for content. They just want something new all the time. Mm-hmm. 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 And that's where it all kind of. I think that's where it stems. This whole, with social media in general. So take TikTok. It's just video after video. Short clips. Yeah, I think that they've done loads of not reviews, kind of questionnaires or something like that, where people only have 5, maybe 10 seconds worth of attention span before they'll just go on to something else. And I think that now portrays, in music, where we just want singles. We don't want to be stuck for too long in one place.
Yeah. Well, I think, so again, from the old guy point of view, I bring a lot of that past with me, right? Because I can't help it. The way I know it is, you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. You write a lot of great songs. Every once in a while, you write a filler piece, which is how an album kind of gets put together, because you have a couple of pieces to kind of pad the album. And you might have if they have 11 songs on an album, you might have 3 real singles. Everything else is just there. So as you mentioned a second ago, to suit the story of the album. But I think the beauty of being your situation, and it has to be awesome from a management point of view, is it forces you as a band you're not allowed to have filler. You have to come up with a song that hooks you and grabs you, because like you said, the 10-second thing. And I remember back in 1986 writing a record with a local guy and taking it to a local producer, and he taught me the age-old lesson. He said, Rob, if it doesn't capture me in the first 10 seconds, I'm turning it off. I don't care how good that song gets. You better blow me away right off the bat. And I think, you're in this new world where this is what bands do. And if you don't do this, if you don't blow our doors off, we're not going to wait around for the drop, or the breakdown section. I don't care how cool it is. You better kick my ass in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just, you got to be quick. You got to be in there. You got to have energy now, straight from go. And that's why, our first, these single we just dropped and the
Self-Destruct, right?
Well, so it'll be, where are we now? When's this video out?
Well, it'll come out soon, but I know you had Chemical, Chemical, and then according to management, we've got Self-Destruct. Right. That's kind of why we're quote unquote here today. Perfect. You know what I mean? So I guess what I want to know, and I don't want to interrupt you, so please finish your thinking. But before I forget, I would love to know how what those songs have in common, if they have anything in common.
These
like
two songs,
thematically or anything.
Yeah, these two songs were written together, and they were written in the aspect of a newer sound. So we had the rebrand with the album, and now this is again the next step for us.
That's great.
We've gone from kind of like a dark, standard kind of metalcore sound to what we hope to be is real live music. So we're writing now for for songs that will just hit live. Because now it's all going, you know, we're back touring, we're back playing. That seems to be the best direction for us. Is just big rock, you know, big rock sound.
Yeah, you seem like, I mean, again, haven't seen you, only seen the videos and visualizers, watched your, you know, your play-alongs. You guys musically seem like an ideal festival type band, a band that needs the big stage and a lot of energy, you know. And I'm sure that's where you're going. Are you doing a lot of festivals this summer?
We've got a couple lined up. We've got Furnace Fest kind of coming up kind of end of the year. Unfortunately, the summer festivals are the ones that we were looking into pre-booked from the past COVID years, which is really unfortunate for us. But hopefully, you know, this is why we're writing now, releasing now. So then we're getting our foot in the door for what kind of comes, hopefully next year for those big festivals. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be developed. I mean, that's the thing. The music right now is hitting hard. You know, your stuff is hitting really hard. It really works. If it touches a 55-year-old like thrash metalhead, it's going to work for most people. You know what I mean? But to me, I recognize a femininity in it. And I mean that in the nicest way. Like, this isn't music for stoner dudes. This is music for my 13-year-old daughter and me. It works for both of us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. We've got aspects of, you know, the real crunchy rock riffs, but then the choruses will come in and they'll just catch you. Yeah. They won't leave your head. And that's exactly the two things we're going for.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I mean, I think it'll meet you when it's ready. And, you know, the hardest part about being a young person in any business is you recognize, okay, you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing, and you've got the material, and you know you're only going to create better material. And so the desire is to get that in front of everybody. But I think just development wise, you know, Josh, your management and the growth spurt that the band has seen over the last year and a half, I can't imagine it not meaning you're going to be getting, you know, main stage, maybe not mid-afternoon, but I bet you your first foray into the bigger festivals next year or the year after, I bet you'll be playing a really great slot. And it's because you'll be ready for it when that time hits.
We're ready now, you know.
We're ready now. I know, but I'm just trying to give you, you know, like hope that it'll all be okay. Trust me, man. That wait will be so worth it.
It's all, that's what we're hoping for too. You know, everything's in place. We're just, it's all about, you know, right place, right time. I think is so key now. I know you can't really, you can do your best to take all these opportunities and put yourself in the right places and. You know, talk to the right people, but sometimes it is just down to luck, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the right person will hear you and give you that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, the key, the thing that I discovered in the music business, well, and in every business, and this is something I discovered sadly much later in life is, you know what, if you really just focus on what you like and what you're probably decent at, you don't have to be the best drummer in the world or the best songwriter or the best anything. You just have to be truthful to yourself and be you. And inevitably your fan base finds you. And then they recognize that, oh, Josh and his mates are creating something transparent and real. Instead of being poser rock stars, you're actually just being Immerse. And they don't know that past. I don't know that past. All we care about is what we're seeing in front of us because we really like it.
Yeah. We're having fun, and hopefully that's coming across in our, you know, in our content as well. We're not trying to be bigger than we are. We're kind of putting ourselves out there, you know, writing the best stuff we can write and kind of enjoying every step along the way. It's all a journey, you know. It's all growth, no matter where you come from, where you started, where you are now. everyone's moving forward. And it's all subjective as well. If it doesn't matter who you're playing to, or who looks at you, or who listens to you. It's, they might think you're the best band in the world. Someone else might think you're the worst band in the world.
Right.
Either way, we're having fun. Yeah. And we're still going to do it, so.
Yeah. Do you have a dream date for the festivals? Let's say you get to play, I don't know, Wacken next year. I mean, that's probably not a good fit for what you do. I don't know, but just picking a festival name. Do you have a dream band that you'd love to share the stage with or open for?
Wow. I think for us as a band, I think Architects would be
great
would
band.
just be nuts, absolutely nuts. They're taking over the world. I mean, they've been doing it for years now, but that would just be the dream. That would be the dream opener. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I think that would be a decent show. And I mean that quite facetiously. I think that would be an extraordinary show. Good eye on that one. Well, okay, so let's talk to management and get that done, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of this in. Yeah, let's do it.
Aren't you in the same management team? Doesn't your manager manage Architects?
I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
Oh, I thought he did.
Crazy. Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought he did actually.
No.
Okay. That's fine. Now I look like an idiot. It's cool.
News to me. Cool. That's great. I hope he does. I hope I don't know something here.
Well, no. Well, look, I mean, I admittedly talk to a lot of firms, and I do crosstalk sometimes. So my apologies. I'm probably incorrect. You would know.
Oh man, that would be nuts.
So one of the constructs of my show, one of the things that I really like to talk about is actually, and this sounds very strange, but I love to talk about mental health, mental strength, the ability to overcome. And musicians were the weirdest lot on the planet. Creative people, where most of us are desperate for attention, desperate for, some form of just appreciation. We need everybody. We need somebody at all moments to tell us we're doing okay. We've created something that matters, because I could play a flawless anything, and I know you feel the same way, and it'll never be good enough. It'll just never be good enough. And I'm curious, do you have a madness to yourself that's a self-destructive habit, something that you shut yourself down with, and you've had to over the years figure out how to stop doing to yourself?
That's a huge question, but
yeah, I know it's a tough one. I'm sorry.
I feel that I myself I'm quite a naturally positive person.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, I've never been in a dark place myself, like a really, really dark place. I've had times where I'm, not, obviously everyone has their off moments,
mm-hmm.
but I feel I'm always looking past the problem to the end result.
Mm-hmm.
And that's especially where music helps me,
mm-hmm.
because that's always there. It's always going to be there. Other things as well, as well as music, food for another thing. Food is always going to be there. And it's, there's always, for me in my head, there's always the other side. And that in itself is kind of reassurance for me in tough moments. Well, let's go back to lockdown. A lot of people, it was one of the worst times in their lives. Being secluded, for some people being completely alone, no contact.
Cabin fever, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Getting in your own head. And that, that can have a devastating effect on some people. but again, for me, it was, there's going to be an end to this. There's a way out. I was keeping myself, very busy. I was still working, getting outside, doing those tragic home workouts just to to feel like you're accomplishing something throughout the day.
Sure. Yeah, but you're a drummer, so you're physical. You're right.
Well,
I mean, you do have that.
I was picking up stones from the garden, just like chucking them over my head, just to do something. But no, even that is just being proactive and just taking each day. That's definitely another thing for me is days finish and then you can restart the next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I really like talking to you, Josh, because I can tell I don't want to call it happy-go-lucky, because there's somehow when you hear that term, it's attributed as kind of goofy or aloof, right? Like lost in your happiness, like everything's okay, and it's not, of course. But what I like about you, it's so clear. You enjoy the process of creation. You enjoy playing. We're having a nice conversation. You're a really easygoing and kind guy. I always attribute that, and I could be wrong, but I attribute that to being raised well. So do you feel like, looking back, that you had a good home life, that your parents were behind your choices 100%? Did they have positive influences on you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel incredibly grateful for my parents and all the support they've given me growing up. Just raising me. I could have turned out any which way, but I've turned out the way I have, and I feel incredibly grateful for for the love I've had throughout my life and to this day. Everything I've wanted to do always seemed reachable. They always had belief in me, and they gave me all the tools they could to do what I've wanted. Obviously, in a personal growth aspect.
Sure.
And with music especially, it wasn't ideal to have a 12-year-old kid with a drum kit set up upstairs.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Not ideal at all. But they made all the arrangements with the neighbors, and they gave me it. They had faith in me to give it a go, and that's all people need. Just a bit of faith, and support. If you.
Yeah. Okay. So then I have to ask the question, because that is, and this might be too personal, and you can tell me, Rob, I don't want to talk about it. But you mentioned faith, and I'm not necessarily talking about religious faith, but I'm curious how much of what kind of positive influences did you see outside of your family? Like in my family, for example, I grew up in the church, right? So I can attribute a lot of my positive behaviors, I believe, regardless of my hypocrisy at times, I can attribute a lot of my positive behaviors to growing up feeling like there was something else, right? That I was, and not so much the dying and going to heaven thing. That's not what I mean, but just, I find that, loving your neighbor as yourself, that's a pretty good thing to stand by. And sometimes we don't love ourselves very well. But you seem very positive, as I said a second ago. So is there any sort of spiritual or, faith bent in your life that kind of holds you captive?
I was raised Christian, kind of went to church, on Sundays, but there was a time where it just kind of phased out, and I don't know why, I don't know when or why this was. But as a family, we just gradually stopped, and I don't know what the reason was for that. For me now, I wouldn't say I'm religious at all, but there is definitely that spiritual side in terms of I fully have faith in the fact that I'm on a path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm literally going in one direction.
Yeah,
and
that's
to some people,
yeah.
to some people that might be terrifying. Like you're not in control of your actions. But for me, it's kind of reassuring to know that I may make some wrong decisions, I may make some right decisions, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to get to where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
But it's how, maybe how long it takes you to get there, or the trials it takes in order to get there, but you're still going to get there. Mm-hmm. So that gives me reassurance to feel like, I'm going to give everything I have to everything I want. And one day I may get there, but I don't know. You will. I'm telling you, you will. And it's because you see things through I really believe that you see things through that very correct lens, that the idea that, so again, this is not a religious thing. This is not even a Christian thing. This is just a Rob thing. But I agree with you in the sense of, look, if you pick who you are, I mean, like you can, I can talk all day about, I think you were created to be X. Well, that doesn't change the fact that Josh gets to pick what he does with his skill set, the things that are built into you naturally. You get a pick. Nobody's telling you how to do it. No God is telling you how to do it. And your family's great, so they're not telling you how to do it. They're just encouraging you to take the steps you want to take. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I watched a movie last night, and it's a stupid movie. It was called Mr. Right, and it had Anna Kendrick and what's his name? He played Guy in Galaxy Quest. Great actor. He was in Moon. All of a sudden, I can't think of his name. Well, anyway, he plays a hitman, and he said something really fascinating in the movie that I'm totally going to mess up, but it basically agrees with what you just said, which is he said, whatever you pick, even if you think it's wrong, you actually wanted that. So in other words, if I hold a green ball in this hand and a red ball in this hand, put them behind my back, and then say, pick, whichever hand you pick, you actually wanted that one. Yeah. Instead of saying like, you accidentally got the green one. And so my point is that your positive thinking that life is, that it's not about a stream of things that you control. It's a stream that you're in. And if you don't fight the current, you're going to get the green ball. Does that make sense? Yeah. Totally. And I love what you're saying, dude. That's the kind of stuff I want to get out of this show. Yeah. So that's badass, man. Thank you. Yeah. It's done me well this far. So, it just feels like the right thing to go with for me. It fits my narrative anyway. Mm-hmm. Other people may totally disagree and think want to be in control, and that's great. That's absolutely fine, but this feels good for me. This is right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you are in control, but you're allowing what you can't control to bounce off of you, if you will. You're like a super positive Teflon, right? I've got the skill set. Every once in a while, things bump into me, but it doesn't change the fact that I have a skill set and I'm going in that direction, and nothing's going to take me off course. It might bounce me around a bit, but I'm going there. Exactly. That's exactly awesome. That's awesome, man. I'm so glad I met you, because you're literally telling me what I wish I had been told as a young man, and what our audience is seeking is a new and exciting perspective from somebody on the way. So thank you so much for sharing, Josh. You have been a really, really wonderful guest. I know I could keep you all day, but that wouldn't be fair to you. So just thanks for being a part of this today. I hope you had a good time. It's been incredible. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.